Welcome to Livewire Markets. My name is Vishal Tekshanani. Thank you for tuning into The Pitch. Today I'm joined by Billy Leung from Global X. He's a senior investment strategist, and we are going to talk about AI's next leg up. What next for AI? Billy, welcome.
Hi, Vish.
Good to have you here, Billy. So, Billy, we've had an explosive run in AI. If you think about 2023, 2024, it was really those FANG stocks, Nvidia, Meta, Google, etc., that were the initial winners of AI. But now the conversation is shifting towards monetization and real-world application. Where do you see the next big breakthroughs occurring?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. I think you're right, and I think one thing that I've always been sharing with clients is this, analogy of where traditional investing has always been very linear. You buy the gold mine, you extract it, and you sell the gold or whatnot, and the commodity is very linear. Whereas innovation is more circular. We have the hardware that provides the opportunity for software to have an infrastructure, and that infrastructure allows us to have adoption and also in a materialization as well. So, and that has that sort of circular motion, and I think this is exactly what you're trying to ask as well. It's because we have seen in the past that AI explosion has been predominantly focused in the hardware side. We saw a lot of very strong semiconductors, whether it be the equipment, whether it be the actual chips, and the equipment that makes the chips. These have always been one of the biggest beneficiaries in the early stages. But right now, what we're seeing is that now that we might be seeing potentially cheaper training, a cheaper infrastructure, this could be boosting the monetization or the adoption of the artificial intelligence. And this a story that I've always been saying is that it's very similar to about 15 years ago or even 12 years ago when we had the smartphones. The smartphone initial adoption was relatively slow, climbing from about 20 to 30%. But what really boosted that smartphone adoption was the killer apps. We had the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the games like Angry Birds. These were what really jumped up the adoption. And I think we might be seeing this in AI now. I don't know what it might be in terms of the killer apps, but I think this is what's going to speed up the adoption of artificial intelligence going forward.
Okay, so let's dig deeper into some of the trends we're seeing in the AI space. We have data centers, we have power infrastructure that are becoming crucial for AI expansion, yet rising energy costs are a challenge. So how should investors think about the interplay between AI and energy demand?
Even though that there are much more efficient ways to build our AI training right now, we are still seeing concerns of rising energy costs and how we deal with that. And I think this is why there's a lot of, alternative energy or more renewable energy resources or sources coming out. And, one thing that we've been looking at, and I guess something that trend that's been, materializing in the AI space is, nuclear energy or uranium. And we're seeing that happen. I mean, on a headline basis, we've seen Google, Amazon, Meta, they're always building plants or they're always purchasing plants that are on the nuclear side. And the key reason is because the nuclear power plants are producing less of a pollution than your traditional. But more importantly, I think with the development in nuclear power and also uranium technology, what we've seen is that it's much more safer to use uranium energy now. It's much more shorter lead time, and it's much more, cheaper now. And just to give you a context, a traditional nuclear power plant used to take about 7 to 10 years to build out right now. But right now, we can build a small modular reactor, which is just a small version of a nuclear plant, in about 3 to 5 years, and are much cheaper. And it's also safer because it's underground as opposed to above ground, where a lot of things can happen. So I think with what's developing, especially in the energy space, this has allowed AI to even produce faster and potentially much safer going forward.
Okay. Let's talk about AI adoption beyond technology. And so one of the things we hear about is the benefits of AI to sectors that, quite frankly, need a lot of automation. You think about your industrials, you think about healthcare. What's your view in terms of the sectors that could be the biggest beneficiaries from adopting AI?
Yeah. So that's exactly what we're talking about in terms of what could be the killer apps, what could be the one that really jumps up in terms of AI adoption. And I think, one of them is definitely robotics, which I think, I wouldn't say people are under sort of valuing, or maybe they're not giving enough notice, but I think traditionally the issue with robotics has been the cost. It's been very hard to apply artificial intelligence into robotics. And I think with recent events in terms of implying that AI training could be cheaper, this could be expedited. We could see robotics coming up much faster, robotic applications, robotic systems to come up much faster than expected. And potentially we are already seeing some in some major names and major companies. Another one that I think hasn't been given enough coverage is probably cybersecurity. Now, the interesting about cybersecurity is that it's always been a sector of its own. It's doing its own thing, it has its own clients. But also what people don't realize is that a lot of cybersecurity is based on speed and also based on capacity and processing power. And what artificial intelligence allows for this sector is that they're actually doing something the same, but faster and cheaper. And I think this is something that could materialize going forward as well. So in terms of going outside of traditional sectors, I think robotics and cybersecurity is something that people should look at going forward.
Billy, we have emerging disruptors in the AI space like DeepSeek. They're lowering the cost of using large language models. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on companies like that and the implications for big AI, if you will.
Yeah, not at all. I don't see this as a threat. Like, I think in terms of the appearance of DeepSeek or the surfacing of DeepSeek, I see this not as a revolution or disruption. I see this more of a recalibration. And I think we spoke about this earlier as well. We have seen this sort of circular innovation developing artificial intelligence. We did expect hardware to drive infrastructure and hard infrastructure to drive adoption. But what we've seen now is because of DeepSeek, we now know that this is going to be expedited. So how I look at the appearance of DeepSeek is two things. I think one, we might see how, in terms of spending, how the companies will be spending their money, whether or not they'll be spending on more adoption or spending more on the actual inference and not the training part of artificial intelligence. But another part is interestingly, to look at who are the major beneficiaries if we do move from a hardware infrastructure into more the adoption space. And something that we've noticed is that a lot of these companies in China are actually very strong developers and adopters of artificial intelligence. And I think that's why we have seen instances where companies in China are benefiting from the recent DeepSeek improvement.
Lastly, Billy, can you talk investors through the best ways to play the trends in AI right now?
Sure, yeah, no, so we've gone through and talked about how AI is very broad. There's a lot of opportunities, and I think this is why in Global X we have our Global X Artificial Intelligence ETF, or the ticker is GXAI. And what we like about it is because it literally covers the entire value chain of the artificial intelligence space. GXAI includes the top 85 companies by market cap of companies which are using AI, developing AI, or they're using the hardware that develops AI. So that actually has that whole value chain that we keep talking about. And then this is sort of where the beauty comes in, because it's capped at 3%, and we have that very good blend of all these companies. And also, whenever there's potential beneficiaries in the cloud space, we also have that in the portfolio, or even beneficiaries in the adoption space. We have those names as well, and that's been resonating a lot with clients, mainly because they understand they want to be exposed to AI, but it's very hard to pick which areas are the correct segments to be invested in at any one time. And this provides a very easy and intuitive way to be exposed to artificial intelligence.
Billy, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you coming in to educate our audience about what's next in the AI space.
Thank you, Vish.
I hope you found that informative. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can produce more content like this. My name is Vishal Tekshnani. Good luck with your AI investing journey.